But NBC News reported last week that Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Florida Senator Marco Rubio were among his top finalists for vice president. Here's what each of them had to say about the man they believe should run this country again.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Would you ever do business with Donald Trump?
I don't think so.
Why?
I just think that it's important that you're judged by the company you keep.
There is no way we are going to allow a con artist to take over the conservative movement, and Donald Trump is a con artist.
So while Donald Trump continues to use the campaign trail to spread lies, and let's not forget about the rants about sharks, the fact that he forgot the name of his doctor, or his love of the fictional serial killer Hannibal Lecter, the Biden-Harris campaign is highlighting the very real stakes of this election. Yesterday marks 2 years since Trump-appointed justices eliminated the constitutional right to abortion.
Here's the thing. Donald Trump says he is proudly responsible for what he's done. Proudly responsible that our daughter has fewer rights than my mother-in-law? Proudly responsible doctors can be imprisoned? Proudly responsible that access to in vitro fertilization is now at risk? Access to contraception is now at risk?
That was Vice President Harris in battleground Arizona yesterday, reminding everyone that Donald Trump and his Republican allies won't stop at abortion rights. And more than 1,600 miles away, Senator Elizabeth Warren was in battleground Wisconsin to rally on behalf of the Biden-Harris campaign.
I'm fighting for our sisters, for our cousins, for the women we went to school with, for our neighbors. I'm fighting for the 10-year-old girl who was raped. I'm fighting for the 46-year-old woman whose only chance to be a mom is going to be IVF. I'm fighting for the person who very much wanted this pregnancy and things went wrong. They went haywire. They went sideways. I am fighting for everyone who may be in a position of having to make a medical decision and believes that that medical decision should be between the patient and the doctor and not a politician in Washington. Donald Trump is despicable in so many ways. But one way that is particularly despicable is the way he talks out of both sides of his mouth about abortion. He says, when he thinks most of America's listening, oh, let's leave it up to the states, I don't want to do this, let's figure out what it'll be, blah, 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 blah. But when he's in front of the people who are the extremists, who are driving across this country, driving to make the healthcare decisions based on their ideology, driving to be the ones who decide who gets to make what decisions in an examining room, in an operating room. When it's there, he brags. Well, I say Donald Trump wants to brag about this one. Let's help him. Let's make it clear to everybody in this country, the reason we lost Roe versus Wade is Donald Trump.
Joining us now, Michael Tyler, Communications Director for the Biden-Harris re-election campaign. Michael, welcome back to The Last Word. Good to see you again. Your interpretation of Donald Trump's pre-debate media tour of complaints and excuses.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jonathan. Listen, I think this is what we've come to expect from Donald Trump when it comes to debates, right? This is a guy who has a history of complaining about debates, skipping out on debates, trying to use them as spectacle for his advantage. I think the problem for Donald Trump, though, is when he takes the stage, the American people are going to see the fundamental choice in this election. They're going to see on one side of the stage President Biden, who's fighting relentlessly for the American people to bring people together to get things done. And on the other side, they're going to see Donald Trump, who's waging a campaign of grievance, who's only in it for himself, and is making it clear every single day on the stump, as Senator Warren pointed out, just how extreme he would be in a second term. So that's the choice that the American people are going to be confronted with when they tune in on Thursday night, regardless of what Trump tries to do on the front end here.
Well, speaking of on the front end, ahead of the debate, the Trump campaign is holding a Black American business leaders barbershop roundtable. Now, Donald Trump says he's making inroads with Black voters, and polls do show Trump ahead in Georgia. But I seem to recall when I traveled with you and the president down to Atlanta just after the State of the Union address back on March 9th, we went to a Black-owned business. So I'm just wondering, how does the Biden-Harris campaign see Georgia?
Yeah, well, we see Georgia as incredibly competitive. The president obviously won the state of Georgia in 2020, and we expect to do so again. It's going to be incredibly close and competitive, but we know that we have the right candidate and the right team in place to get the votes and win the state of Georgia again. I think if you want to talk about Black voters and Black business, for example, I'm not quite sure why Donald Trump wants to talk about Black business, because we know by the end of his term, Black businesses were shuttered because of the way that he fumbled the COVID response. He was telling us to inject bleach instead of doing his job. And the result was Black people left disproportionately dead and Black businesses disproportionately shuttered. I think the only things that actually went up by the end of Donald Trump's first term for Black America were the unemployment rate and the uninsured rate. So we're happy to wage this campaign on that front. If you put that up against the president's historic record of accomplishment for Black America, record low Black unemployment in the first term, Black wealth growing by 60% since before the pandemic, the fastest rate of Black small business growth in a generation, historic investments into HBCUs to the tune of $16 billion. That is a choice that's going to be easy for Black America to make in this election. And we're confident that if we continue to communicate that contrast of visions, that contrast of values, that we're going to win this election, both in Georgia and across the country, of course.
Michael, let's look at another key state. In a recent interview, Jen O'Malley Dillon, chair of the Biden-Harris reelection campaign, said, quote, "What's happening in North Carolina, the extreme laws that are moving through the state legislature, a restrictive abortion law that's worse than most other places in the country, a beyond extreme candidate running for governor in Mark Robinson. If you put all those pieces together, we really see that the state is in play." So, Michael, North Carolina will begin to mail absentee ballots starting on September 6th. So this might be the only debate North Carolina voters see. What will it take to flip North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina is absolutely in play. I think if you want to look at any indicator of that, look exactly where the president is going after he leaves Atlanta. We're going directly to Raleigh, North Carolina, to organize and rally our growing grassroots army in the Tar Heel state. We know that given everything that you just described, the demographic makeup, the extremism that's been on display in the state legislature there, obviously the extreme MAGA candidate that they have in the state of North Carolina, in many ways it's a microcosm of what we're looking at across the country here. And so we know that if we relentlessly engage in the state of North Carolina, that we're going to be able to come out on top. That's true in Georgia. It's true in North Carolina. It's, of course, true in the blue wall states as well. We know that we have the resources, the candidate, the message, the vision, and the values to win across the country here. And that's the type of campaign that we are building. We've got 300 field offices open across the country. We have over 1,000 staff now on the ground across all the battleground states. And so that's true in North Carolina. It's true in Georgia. And I think it stands in stark contrast to the lack of an operation that the Trump team has at this stage of the race. We know in an incredibly polarized and divided electorate where you have two candidates that are both widely well known, the operations that you have in place matter that much more. And there's only one campaign at this stage of the race that is actually doing the work to reach the voters that are deciding the election. Every dollar that people chip in when they go to joebiden.com is fueling that grassroots army that we are building in the battlegrounds across the country. So we're foot on the gas coming off of the debate in Atlanta. We'll be on to North Carolina and across the battleground states from here.
Well, you mentioned earlier blue wall states, so let's talk about one of them. I want you to listen to what a Pennsylvania voter told NBC News today.
I'm looking to see that Joe Biden does the, accentuates what he's already done, and to really say this is my plan to improve that.
So what will Joe Biden, President Biden, say about his plan to build upon his record in the next 4 years?
Yeah, listen, I think you'll hear a lot of that on Thursday night, right? He'll talk about the historic record of accomplishment, everything from 15 million jobs created since the day he took office, 800,000 of those being manufacturing jobs, the work that he's done to lower costs for American people, capping the cost of insulin at $35 for our seniors, for example. But he'll increasingly talk about the work that we're going to accomplish in a second term, beginning with restoring Roe v. Wade as the law of the land. He'll talk about continuing to lower costs for Americans, expanding that $35 insulin cap to all Americans in a second term, expanding the $2,000 out-of-pocket prescription drug cap to all Americans in a second term, continuing to add more medications to Medicare negotiation, for example, continuing the work that we're going to do to make sure that we actually live in a country with a fair tax code so that a billionaire never pays less in taxes than a school teacher and a nurse, and making sure that we understand that if Donald Trump is elected, none of that is going to happen, right? We're only going to have a more dark, dangerous, and chaotic vision for where he wants to take the country. He's going to get on that stage and talk about the fact that he thinks the extreme state-level abortion bans that he's responsible for are playing out brilliantly. He's going to make it clear that he's comfortable with more abortion bans playing out across the country if he's able to regain power. He's going to talk about more corporate handouts and tax giveaways to the ultra-wealthy on the backs of the middle class if he's able to regain power. And he's going to wage his campaign of revenge and retribution from the debate stage, continuing to attack democracy, promising to pardon the insurrectionists of January 6th. That's the fundamental contrast that the American people are going to see on that debate stage, and they're going to see through the duration of this campaign moving forward.
Well, Michael, Trump often uses the phrases Biden migrant crime when talking about immigration. He'll likely use that phrase on Thursday, but the question is, how will the president respond if he doesn't?
Yeah, listen, I mean, Donald Trump, there's no tragedy that Donald Trump won't try to exploit for his own personal gain. Obviously, every last one of these is a tragedy. We understand that, the president understands that, but we're not going to let Donald Trump misconstrue the facts. The fact of the matter is that crime went up under Donald Trump's presidency. Crime is down under Joe Biden's presidency. Donald Trump doesn't care about crime. He doesn't care about border security. I think that's evident by the fact that he's the one who blew up the border security deal when we had a bipartisan deal in the Senate. With the president, you have somebody who's actually trying to bring people together relentlessly to fix our problems. That's true of border security. That's true of every challenge that the American people face. And so that's, again, a fundamental contrast that the American people are going to see on the debate stage on Thursday night.
One more question for you, Michael. Donald Trump will surely try to exploit Democratic divisions over the war in Gaza. How will President Biden put the focus back on what Trump's policies would mean for Palestinians?
Yeah, I think Donald Trump makes it very clear that he would not make life better for Palestinians or Americans or anybody for that matter. I think what the president is going to do is make sure that the American people understand that they elected him precisely because he does not view issues of global security through the lens of politics. He views them as the commander-in-chief. That's what he's been doing in the Middle East. That's why the American people elected him in the first place, and that's why they'll re-elect him in November, because he is actually doing his job. He does not view these issues through the lens of what's best for him and himself. That's obviously what Donald Trump does, and that stands in stark contrast to the president who the American people elected.
Michael, I lied. I have one. This is the last question. I'm sorry. This is the last question. What will success look like Thursday night?
Listen, I think success is the American people having a clear understanding of the choice in this election, because that's exactly what they'll see when these two candidates take the stage. They will walk away from the debate seeing a president in Joe Biden who is fighting relentlessly for the American people to get things done for them. And across from that, they'll see Donald Trump, who's increasingly unhinged, who's running a campaign now as a convicted felon, who's convicted precisely because he was willing to do or say anything to gain and hold on to power, and is now promising to enact revenge and retribution if he's able to regain power. That's what the American people are going to walk away from after they've watched the debate on Thursday night.
Michael Tyler, Communications Director for the Biden-Harris re-election campaign, thank you, as always, for coming to The Last Word.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up, the choice voters have in this year's presidential election: a sitting president who has worked tirelessly to end gun violence, or a convicted felon who has proudly done nothing. Plus, a big victory today against Alex Jones, who, never forget, was mainstreamed by Donald Trump. That's next.
Everybody needs a little magic. Everybody knows it's true.
Chewy, a Citi client, uses Citi's financial expertise to help drive its growth and keep its supply chain moving, so more pet parents can get everything they need right when they need it, keeping more pets and families happy. For the love of moving our clients forward, for the love of progress.
Ooh, carne asada. It's carne asada. That's what I said. Carne asada. Carne. But with more flavor. Carne. Try saying it like this. Juicy carne asada. Carne asada. Carne. I did it. And you rolls.
I still love to surf, snowboard, and of course skate. So I take Cunol Magnesium to support my muscle and bone health. Cunol's extra strength, high absorption magnesium helps me get the full benefits of magnesium. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Last year, to combat inflation, we ran a promotion cutting the price of Mint Unlimited in half. And it was so popular, we're doing it again. It's like a sequel that's actually as good as the original. Maybe better. Definitely not worse. Okay, it's exactly the same.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein.
Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein. 30 grams protein, 1 gram sugar, 25 vitamins and minerals, and a new fiber blend with a prebiotic.
I have moderate to severe Crohn's disease. Now there's Skyrizi.
Things are looking up. I've got symptom relief. Control of my Crohn's means everything to me. Control is everything to me.
Feel significant symptom relief at 4 weeks with Skyrizi, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements. Skyrizi is the first IL-23 inhibitor that can deliver remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. And Skyrizi is proven to help deliver long-lasting remission at 1 year.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine or plan to. Liver problems may occur in Crohn's disease.
Now's the time to ask your gastroenterologist how you can take control of your Crohn's with Skyrizi.
Control is everything to me.
Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Skating for over 45 years has taken a toll on my body. I take Cunol Turmeric because it helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Why Cunol? It has superior absorption compared to regular turmeric. Cunol, the brand I trust.
The cockroach, resilient creatures, true miracles of evolution. Where there is one, others aren't far behind. Always scavenging for food, the cockroach will...
Well, that's horrifying.
Near its favorite...
Ortho Home Defense Max Indoor Insect Barrier. One application kills and prevents bugs for 365 days.
Not in my house, you don't.
Nature's wild. Your home doesn't have to be.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with a provider today at ro.co/20.
I need Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon, complete with comprehensive data analysis.
Are you getting any of this?
Charles.
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Mom by morning. Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
Guys, are you tired of frequent nighttime bathroom trips? Well, Force Factor Prostate contains key ingredients to help reduce urges to urinate, fully empty your bladder, and promote a normal prostate size. Don't settle. Rush to Walmart for Force Factor Prostate from the #1 fastest growing men's health brand in America.
We're coming together for our yearly service project and running a t-shirt fundraiser through Custom Ink to help the cause. Plus, their design services team helped us get a design we love. Come together for a cause. Get started today at customink.com.
I need Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon, complete with comprehensive data analysis.
Are you getting any of this?
Charles.
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Mom by morning. Got it?
Got it, boss. Otter, you got this.
For 25 years, the now bankrupt businessman Alex Jones has used his notorious website InfoWars to make millions by spewing right-wing propaganda, fake news, and conspiracy theories, including lies that President Obama and Hillary Clinton were the devil and, quote, smelled like sulfur, and conspiracy theories like Pizzagate, and that the U.S. government had a hand in 9/11. And he might have stayed in an obscure corner of the internet if not for this.
I'm so excited. And he joins us from Trump Tower in New York City. He is the leading 2016 Republican presidential contender. Donald Trump, again, joins us. And I've got so many questions. But first off, Donald, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. Great to be with you.
Trump did that while Alex Jones was lying about Sandy Hook. But now, because of the Sandy Hook families, Alex Jones's platform will be shut down. His personal assets have already been liquidated, and now a U.S. bankruptcy court trustee says he intends to wind down operations of the parent company of InfoWars and liquidate its inventory. The business is being liquidated because Alex Jones owes the families of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting nearly $1.5 billion because of the lies he told. Lies that the murder of 20 first graders and 6 educators by a gunman's AR-15 never happened. Lies that led to the families of the victims being harassed and threatened. This is some justice for the families who wanted to see the media platform that spread this poison shuttered. There was another victory in the fight against gun violence today in a landmark announcement. U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy declared firearm violence a public health crisis in America.
I've sat with parents who've lost a child to firearm violence. I've listened to their stories and felt their pain as they describe the holes in their hearts. As a father, I know a parent's worst nightmare is to lose a child, to feel like you can't protect your child from harm. Firearm violence is a public health crisis. Our failure to address it is a moral crisis. To protect the health and well-being of Americans, especially our children, we must now act with the clarity, courage, and urgency that this moment demands.
Guns are the leading cause of death for children and adolescents in the U.S. ages 1 to 19, more than car accidents and drug overdoses combined. And ahead of the November election, this is the choice. President Biden and an administration working to end gun violence, or former President Trump, who has proudly said he did nothing to restrict guns. Earlier this month, at a rally to end gun violence, Vice President Harris made this clear.
Whereas President Biden and I stood up to the NRA and the gun lobby, Donald Trump bowed down. After the horrors of El Paso and Dayton, the former president said he would take action. And then he folded. He failed to stand up to the gun lobby.
Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost of Florida. He is a member of the House Oversight Committee and a National Advisory Board member for the Biden-Harris campaign. Congressman Frost, welcome back to The Last Word. So the Surgeon General calls the gun epidemic a, quote, moral crisis. And polling shows that nearly 6 in 10 U.S. adults say that they worry sometimes, almost every day or every day, about a loved one being a victim of firearm violence. That's a solid majority for an issue. And the contrast couldn't be clearer between standing up and bowing down to the NRA.
Of course, the contrast couldn't be any clearer. And it's 60% of Americans that say they worry about themselves or a family member dying due to firearms. And it's even more. 90% of Americans want things like universal background checks and want action. And so even more, a larger percent of Americans actually want something done. On one hand, you have President Joe Biden, who signed the law, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. Today is the 2-year anniversary of it. And I encourage people, go online, look at what the White House has put out. They've put out a progress report on exactly how this law has saved lives. And what we know to be true is gun violence, homicides around the entire country has gone down. And there's so much more work to do. That's on one hand. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who when asked about mass shootings said, get over it. That's his response to the families of Parkland, to the families of Uvalde, to the families of the children who are gunned down every day across this country. Get over it. That's unacceptable.
You know, the Surgeon General's advisory notes Black Americans endure the highest rates of firearm homicides, while suicide rates are highest among veterans, older white individuals, and younger American Indian or Alaska Native people. As a National Advisory Board member for the Biden campaign, how is the campaign prioritizing these groups when it comes to reducing firearm violence?
In a very large way, the campaign is prioritizing in the way we communicate with voters, where we go and communicate with voters, but also on the other side, it's the action that the president's taken. I mean, if you look, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act has a record amount of money going towards what's called community violence intervention. This is giving money to community groups that work at identifying who's more likely to shoot someone and who's more likely to be shot. And funding these programs helps us end the violence before it happens. A lot of people, especially in Congress, want to talk about how to react to gun violence. I want to be a part of the conversation on how we make sure people don't die in the first place. And also, Jonathan, I want to impress on how big of a deal this is. Today, the Surgeon General of the United States declared gun violence as a public health crisis and emergency. This opens up a whole, it opens up a lot for us in terms of the politics of this on the Hill, and hopefully will allow us to get more done. You know, similar announcements and similar reports were put out by the Surgeon General before action was taken on HIV/AIDS, before action was taken on smoking, and on big ticket health issues. And so I think this is really a turning point in the gun violence prevention movement, and of course, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, Congressman Frost, Dr. Jonathan Metzl wrote a Time magazine op-ed with the headline, "Guns are not just a public health problem," where he says, and I'm quoting, "Gun laws by themselves will have relatively little effect in changing the contours of the American gun debate if they don't go hand in hand with material investments that take seriously people's safety concerns and reward community cohesion over armed tribalism. Gun laws have the greatest effect if joined with investments in lived environment, fixing streetlights, creating parks and green spaces, jobs programs, and rebuilding civic infrastructure. Public safety and community resiliency can reduce gun crime at rates that supersede those produced by gun laws alone." It's a twofold strategy, but Congressman, how do we get the investment from elected officials?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I always tell people we're going to end gun violence in 3 different ways. We got to do it at the same time. 1, gun regulation to make sure guns don't get in the wrong hands. 2, ensuring that we invest in community violence intervention so that way community groups have the resources to break the cycle of violence. And number 3, creating a country where people don't feel the need to use a gun to solve their problems in the first place. So if you want to be the gun violence person, you're going to also have to be the healthcare person, the jobs person, the poverty person, the infrastructure person. Oh, wait. These are all big bills that President Biden has signed into law over the last few years. And that's what we need to look at. It's not just one laundry list of gun regulation, even though it's important. I agree with what that article said. It's the totality of how we create an environment and a society where people don't need to turn to violence to feed their kids and to feed their families. And that's why our agenda, the Democratic agenda, is one that, yes, will make sure guns don't get in the wrong hands, but also is going to make sure that you have a good paying union job, you have what you need in terms of infrastructure to make sure that you can live the life you want to live. All these issues are connected, and it's part of what gives me so much hope, Jonathan, for the future of this country, especially young voters. You ask them what they care about, they're not going to tell you one thing, they're going to tell you several things because they see how all of these issues are connected. It's the same thing and how we're going to end gun violence.
You know, also, Dr. Metzl believes that the national gun debate is rooted deeply in political identity, and that many in this country view guns not as a health risk, but a form of protection. So how do we change this divide to reduce gun violence?
Well, to what I was just saying, I mean, I think people need to feel safe. And look, I've had these very difficult conversations, especially during the Black Lives Matter uprising. To be honest, when I was on the streets, there were several of my organizers that I would be working with who told me, Maxwell, I'm going to go get a gun in a few days because we were threatened by white supremacists, because I was doxxed online, because I'm scared for my life. And the fact of the matter is there are real safety concerns for many people, black folks, poor people, working people, indigenous folks across the country who have a fear and want to arm themselves. And look, to be clear, this agenda isn't trying to disarm every American, right? This isn't what we're fighting for. What we're fighting for is responsible, common sense policy coupled with preventative measures so we don't even get to a point where the gun is fired in the first place. But making sure that we expand what public safety means is important. And for too long, Jonathan, when you think about public safety, the only thing we think about is law enforcement, which plays a big role in it. But what we also need to do is ensure that the community is also centered in the conversation of public safety. And again, community violence intervention programs are evidence-based. And if you look at the report from the Surgeon General, he uses data and facts to show how if we put more money into these community-based programs, we can really help end gun violence and also help our communities feel safer, because that is a real concern and we got to address it.
Congressman Maxwell Frost of Florida, thank you as always for coming to The Last Word.
Thanks for having me on.
And coming up, convicted felon Donald Trump's gag order has been partially lifted by Judge Juan Merchan ahead of Trump's July 11th sentencing, just in time for the first presidential debate. Plus, what happened today inside the courtroom of Trump-appointed Judge Aileen Mercedes Cannon, who keeps delaying the start of Trump's criminal trial for alleged crimes after he left office. That's next.
If you're living with HIV, imagine being good to go without daily HIV pills. Good to go, unscripted. Good to go, on a whim. With Cabenuva, there's no pausing for daily HIV pills. For adults who are undetectable, Cabenuva is the only complete, long-acting HIV treatment you can get every other month. It's 2 injections from a healthcare provider just 6 times a year. Don't receive Cabenuva if you're allergic to its ingredients or if you're taking certain medicines which may interact with Cabenuva. Serious side effects include allergic reactions, post-injection reactions, liver problems, and depression. If you have a rash and other allergic reaction symptoms, stop Cabenuva and get medical help right away. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems, mental health concerns, and if you are pregnant, breastfeeding, or considering pregnancy. Some of the most common side effects include injection site reactions, fever, and tiredness. With Cabenuva, you're good to go. Ask your doctor about switching.
Imagine a future where plastic is not wasted, but instead remade over and over into the things that keep our food fresher, our families safer, and our planet cleaner. To help us get there, America's plastic makers are investing billions of dollars to create innovative products and new recycling technologies for sustainable change. Because when you push for smarter solutions, big things can happen.
Can Nariva support your brain health?
Mary, Janet, hey.
Eddie, no, Fraser, Frank. Frank?
Fred, how are you? Fred.
Fuel up to 7 brain health indicators, including your memory. Join the Nariva Brain Health Challenge.
Try killing bugs the worry-free way, not the other way. Zevo traps use light to attract and trap flying insects with no odor and no mess. They work continuously, so you don't have to. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Smile, you found it. The feeling of finding psoriasis can't filter out the real you. So go ahead, live unfiltered with the one and only Sotyktu, a once-daily pill for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis and the chance at clear or almost clear skin. It's like the feeling of finding you're so ready for your close-up, or finding you don't have to hide your skin, just your background. Once daily Sotyktu was proven better, getting more people clearer skin than the leading pill. Don't take if you're allergic to Sotyktu. Serious reactions can occur. Sotyktu can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections, cancers including lymphoma, muscle problems, and changes in certain labs have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, liver or kidney problems, high triglycerides, or had a vaccine or plan to. Sotyktu is a TYK2 inhibitor. TYK2 is part of the JAK family. It's not known if Sotyktu has the same risks as JAK inhibitors. Find what plaque psoriasis has been hiding. There's only one Sotyktu, so ask for it by name. So clearly you. Sotyktu.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast. Until now.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today for your free gutter inspection.
I've had terrible flooding problems on my porch. Now I understand why.
Right now, Leaf Filter is offering a free inspection on your schedule. Leaf Filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
Call us today and schedule your free inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
After Homoglow cleaned our place for $19, we fired our old housekeeper. Homoglow tackled everything, from our kitchen to our bathroom, all our laundry. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19.
Waiting till Friday to get paid is tricky. Then I heard about Chime. Now I get paid 2 days early, no fees. Early payday guarantees that I can make it to any gig, any rehearsal, anytime. Join me at Chime.com.
All right, team, saddle up. I want Q1 full index reports at my desk by noon.
Are you getting any of this?
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Got it?
Got it, boss.
Otter, you got this. Sleepy, headaches, dry skin? You're probably dehydrated. Try Liquid Labs Rapid Hydration. It's packed with all 5 essential electrolytes, tastes amazing, and way less sugar than sports drinks. Rehydrate and feel better with Liquid Labs. Grab Liquid Labs in the Walmart vitamin aisle today.
The judge in Donald Trump's hush money case partially lifted the gag order against Donald Trump ahead of the first presidential debate on Thursday. So Donald Trump is now free to complain about the witnesses who testified against him at trial and the jury that found him guilty of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to hide hush money payments in an attempt to influence the 2016 election. But he's still gagged from attacking the prosecution team, courtroom staff, and their families until his sentencing on July 11th. Donald Trump's federal criminal trial in Washington, D.C. is on hold while we wait for a decision from the Supreme Court, which could come in the next 3 days, on whether Trump has immunity from prosecution for trying to overturn the 2020 election. And today in Florida, the federal judge who Donald Trump appointed, Aileen Cannon, finished her 3rd day of hearings without any rulings, further delaying Donald Trump's criminal trial on his illegal retention of classified documents. Jack Smith sat in the courtroom as Judge Cannon considered a defense motion to suppress evidence seized by the FBI from Mar-a-Lago, claiming the search warrant was invalid. But Judge Cannon seemed inclined to reject that argument, telling Donald Trump's attorney that the search warrant appeared to be detailed enough to survive the challenge, saying, quote, "It seems like it is, based on the case law that's been submitted." Joining us now, Adam Klasfeld, who was in the courtroom in Fort Pierce, Florida today. He is a fellow at Just Security. Also with us, Joyce Vance, former U.S. attorney and former chief of the appellate division in the 11th Circuit. She's a professor at the University of Alabama School of Law and co-host of the hashtag Sisters-in-Law podcast. Thank you both very much for coming back to The Last Word. So, Adam, break down what happened in court today for us.
Well, that quote that you just read, Jonathan, is the key quote. Very often during these oral arguments and these pretrial hearings, it's hard to tell one way or another where the judge is leaning. A quote like that pretty much says it all. And I'll give you a little bit of background to that. She had said moments before that Trump's attorney, Emil Bove, had brought a particularity challenge, meaning he challenged the level of detail in the warrant. And she says it seems like it does have enough detail based on the case law that's been submitted. And we don't want to undercut this moment because for nearly 2 years now, Trump has complained about the fairness of the Mar-a-Lago raid. And here he is before a courtroom where that has been known to give him a very deferential venue to consider these matters. They brought their best case law, and prosecutors brought their best case law. And it seems, just based on the blockbuster remark that you read and just the general tenor of the arguments this morning, that the prosecution will have succeeded in defeating this challenge to suppress the evidence. Now, that was one half of the hearing today. There was a second half that the press was not privy to. It was a sealed hearing to discuss attorney-client privilege issues, and that goes to notes from Trump's former attorney that were obtained by prosecutors by use of the crime fraud exception. They had obtained through the crime fraud exception access to these notes from the DC grand jury. Trump is challenging that. Now, what happened during that hearing? Did Trump's attorneys make any headway during that? We don't know, and we won't know until Judge Cannon issues a public ruling.
So, Joyce, ABC News reports Trump expressed concern that returning classified documents after a May 2022 subpoena could result in criminal charges. I'm reading, quote, he raised the question as to if we gave them additional documents now, would they, the Department of Justice, come back and say, well, why did you withhold them, and try to use that as a basis for criminal liability or to make him look bad in the press, according to Corcoran's notes about what Trump asked his attorneys. Joyce, what do you make of this?
So, Jonathan, this is about the first hearing that Adam was talking about, the sealed hearing about whether or not Judge Cannon will let the prosecution use Trump lawyer Evan Corcoran's notes at trial. And the argument that the government makes is, sure, normally this is privileged information protected by the attorney-client privilege. We're not even entitled to see it in the usual case. But here, there's a crime fraud exception. Trump was trying to enlist his attorney to join him in a criminal conspiracy to obstruct the investigation. So we're entitled to have this evidence here. This ABC reporting is dynamite evidence that that was the case. It enhances what's already a strong portfolio of evidence in the government's hands. The original ruling that lets them use this evidence was made by a different judge in the District of Columbia. So what Judge Cannon is doing, in effect, is seeing whether or not she agrees with that judge. And given the volume of evidence here, it would be very surprising, certainly a ruling that the special counsel would want to appeal if she disagreed.
So, Adam, talk to us about what it was like being in the room with Jack Smith and Judge Cannon. Any notable interactions or observations?
Well, there were no interactions with most people and Jack Smith. He's a very stoic, very stolid individual. He's seated behind the prosecution table. So most of us seated in the gallery, which is essentially 2 rows of seating in a very small courtroom in Fort Pierce, are basically seeing the back of his head. But he doesn't let on very much. He keeps a poker face. And Judge Cannon, too, can be very soft-spoken. She can be very polite to the other sides until she's frustrated, and then she puts everything on her sleeve. And she got frustrated at the prosecution multiple times, both yesterday and that moment when she told David Harback that she didn't appreciate his tone. And there was a moment at the end of the hearing today where there was another tense moment when Harback grew frustrated at Trump's lawyers for impugning the FBI during the search and said that the defense was trying to hijack the hearing with matters that don't belong with it, that weren't even a part of their case. Judge Cannon shut it down at that moment and said that she was trying to wrap up the hearing. No one is hijacking anything. So you know when you have run afoul of Judge Cannon, and that when she has shown more of her flashes of anger, of course, at the prosecution than the defense.
Okay, so Adam is frozen. So we're going to take that as an opportunity.
Trump's attorneys have gotten that I mentioned. She has,
and he's back, and he's gone again. Adam Klasfeld, Joyce Vance, thank you both very much for coming back to The Last Word. Sorry about the technical difficulties there. Coming up, our next guest says Wall Street wants nothing to do with another Trump term. That's next.
Nothing dims my light like a migraine. With Nurtec ODT, I found relief.
The only migraine medication that helps treat and prevent all in one.
To those with migraine, I see you.
for the acute treatment of migraine with or without aura and the preventive treatment of episodic migraine in adults. Don't take if allergic to Nurtec ODT. Allergic reactions can occur even days after using. Most common side effects were nausea, indigestion, and stomach pain.
It's time we all shine. Talk to a healthcare provider about Nurtec ODT from Pfizer.
If you spit blood when you brush, it could be the start of a domino effect. New Parodontax Active Gum Repair Breath Freshener. Clinically proven to help reverse the 4 signs of early gum disease. A new toothpaste from Parodontax, the gum experts.
Hey, with Priceline VIP Family, you can unlock deals 5 times faster. You don't even have to be an actual family.
Oh, I'd be the dad.
I'm the dad.
Hey, physically, it's clear that I'm the dad.
Okay, so which dad is paying?
You're the dad.
Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Old Spice Gentleman Super Hydration Body Wash. Vanilla and shea. 24/7 moisturization with vitamin B3.
Are you using all the Old Spice?
Oops.
Chances of a plane crash, 1 in 11 million.
You're not going to finish those salted nuts, right?
Never waking up from anesthesia, 1 in 185,000.
Validate your parking or just see how it goes?
What? Why stress about the unlikely? Does a killer clown worry about being struck by lightning while winning the lottery?
Sure don't.
But your odds of falling victim to online crime are 1 in 4. You need Aura. You, your family, all protected from scary online stuff. Protect everything your family does online with Aura.
When you're hot, nothing feels better than the gentle cooling breeze of a ceiling fan, right? The problem is you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on the fan and just as much to have it installed. Not anymore. This is the revolutionary socket fan by Bell & Howell. The amazing 2-in-1 ceiling fan and light. If you can screw in a light bulb, you can hang the socket fan light. Is that easy or is that easy?
Available at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart.
Ooh, carne asada.
It's carne asada. That's what I said. Carne asada.
Carne.
Carne. Juicy carne asada.
Carne asada. Carne. I did it. And you used rolls. You don't roll on rolls. Really?
If you have generalized myasthenia gravis, picture what life could look like with Vyvgart Hytrulo, a subcutaneous injection that takes about 30 to 90 seconds. For one thing, could it mean more time for you? Vyvgart Hytrulo can improve daily abilities and reduce muscle weakness with a treatment plan that's personalized to you. Do not use Vyvgart Hytrulo if you have a serious allergy to any of its ingredients. It can cause serious allergic reactions like trouble breathing and decrease in blood pressure leading to fainting and allergic reactions such as rashes, swelling under the skin, shortness of breath, and hives. The most common side effects are respiratory and urinary tract infections, headache, and injection site reactions. It may increase the risk of infusion-related reactions and infection. Tell your doctor if you have a history of infections or symptoms of an infection. Talk to your neurologist about Vyvgart Hytrulo for GMG and picture your life in motion.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
At Doan's, we know one thing and one thing only. Backs. Strained backs from weekend chores to pulled backs doing your favorite hobbies. We even know quarterbacks. Doan's, the experts in back pain relief for more than 100 years. Available at a store near you.
It's good to get some fresh air.
Fresh air?
Hi, guys.
Bill, you look great.
Now that I have Inspire, I'm free from struggling with the mask and the hose.
Inspire?
Inspire is a sleep apnea treatment that works inside my body with a click of this button.
No mask.
No hose.
Just sleep.
Give me this thing.
Where are you going?
I'm going to get Inspire.
Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Donald Trump's entire identity is tied up in perpetuating the myth that he's the world's greatest businessman. But it's just that, a myth. After relying on money from his daddy and years of alleged tax fraud, businessman Trump has left a trail behind him littered with litigation and bankruptcy. What about when he was president? Take this headline for ProPublica just before Trump left office. Donald Trump built a national debt so big, even before the pandemic, that it'll weigh down the economy for years. Our next guest, Professor Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, chairman and president of the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute, says Wall Street has taken note and wants nothing to do with another Trump term.
We look back into the data, and we're looking at this now for the last 4 months. We've been pointing out that there are no Fortune 500 CEOs who are supporting former President Trump, and that is a historic break going back to William Howard Taft and through Calvin Coolidge and Ronald Reagan and the Bushes and everything, is that it's been anywhere from 40 to 60% public and financial support. It's zero now, and it was zero in 2016.
Today, Axios piled on with more bad news for Trump, reporting 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists are warning former President Donald Trump's plans would reignite inflation and cause lasting harm to the global economy if he wins in November. While each of us has different views on the particulars of various economic policies, we all agree that Joe Biden's economic agenda is vastly superior to Donald Trump. The 16 economists write in a letter first obtained by Axios. Joining us now is Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, Senior Associate Dean at Yale University School of Management. He's also a CNBC contributor. Professor, thank you for being here. In a New York Times op-ed, you wrote, and I'm quoting, "Mr. Trump and his team are doubling down on some of his most anti-business instincts. These Trump positions have more in common with Karl Marx than Adam Smith." So, Professor, what are the Trump policies CEOs are afraid of?
The Trump policies that they don't like, some of them are style, some of them are substance. In short, most CEOs are not xenophobic. They appreciate immigration. They know the history of the country. They know that half the Fortune 500 companies are either created by immigrants or first-generation descendants that have come to this country, or maybe a quarter of tech startups that are immigrants, and they celebrate that. So they're not xenophobic. They are also not protectionist. They believe in selective use of some tariffs if there's unfair competition. But Trump wants off the board, around the world, all tariffs all the time. That would be highly inflationary, and they hate that. They're also not isolationist. They look at a dangerous predator, a country like Putin's Russia, and the destruction and the cruelty and the human rights violations and the destabilization. They don't support that. So those are some things, but they also believe in the rule of law instead of the law of rulers, and that frightens them perhaps more than anything. There are particular economic policies that we could talk about, but it's that overall philosophy that they don't stand behind, and it's shocking because they're 65-70% Republican.
Yes, that is a Professor, we have less than a minute left, but what is the one economic question you'd like President Biden and Donald Trump to be asked at the debate?
HIV, I didn't know who I would be.
But here I am, being me.
Keep being you and ask your healthcare provider about the #1 prescribed HIV treatment, Biktarvy.
Biktarvy is a complete one-pill, once-a-day treatment used for HIV in many people, whether you're 18 or 80. With one small pill, Biktarvy fights HIV to help you get to undetectable and stay there, whether you're just starting or replacing your current treatment. Research shows that taking HIV treatment as prescribed and getting to and staying undetectable prevents transmitting HIV through sex. Serious side effects can occur, including kidney problems and kidney failure. Rare, life-threatening side effects include a buildup of lactic acid and liver problems. Do not take Biktarvy if you take dofetilide or rifampin. Tell your healthcare provider about all the medicines and supplements you take if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have kidney or liver problems, including hepatitis. If you have hepatitis B, do not stop taking Biktarvy without talking to your healthcare provider. Common side effects are diarrhea, nausea, and headache.
No matter where life takes you, Biktarvy can go with you. Talk to your healthcare provider today.
Quince is quiet luxury at disruptive prices. Because beautiful things should be for everyone. With Quince, you can get more summer essentials, more high-quality materials, and more of life's finer things. Because quality should never be a luxury. Quince. Get $20 off your first purchase at quince.com.
Want the effects of Viagra, but faster? Meet Rose Sparks. They contain sildenafil and tadalafil, but Sparks dissolve under the tongue. Dissolvables work faster than old-school pills. Connect with a medical provider at ro.co/sparks.
Waiting till Friday to get paid is tricky. I'm a music teacher who plays gigs, and I need to get paid for the weekend to rent equipment, or else I have to cancel. With Chime, I get paid 2 days early with no fees. Now I can make every weekend gig. Join me at Chime.com.
Many probiotics don't survive digestion. That means whatever you're taking for your gut probably isn't getting where it needs to go. Seeds DSO1 Daily Synbiotic is the 2-in-1 prebiotic and probiotic engineered to survive, bringing live bacteria all the way down to the colon for a healthy digestive, skin, heart, and immune system. Get started today with Seeds DSO1 Daily Synbiotic. Visit seed.com to order now.
I need Q1 full index reports to my desk by noon, complete with comprehensive data analysis.
Are you getting any of this?
Charles.
Yep, Otter's got the meeting notes. I'll ask it for action items in the channel. And Maria already asked for a budget reminder. Smart.
Mom by morning. Got it?
Got it, boss.
Otter, you got this.
When I was working in the Senate, I didn't realize that it's the perfect training for the job that I have now. Covering government, covering politics, the complexity of it all. You learn how to explain that and how to live through that when you work in this building. Mastering the detail is crucial to being able to present anything that happens in Senate buildings like this or any of the other news centers that we have to focus on every day.
One programming note before we go. We are just 2 days away from the first presidential debate between President Joe Biden and Donald Trump. On Thursday, Rachel Maddow and team lead special coverage and analysis of the debate hosted by CNN. Watch Thursday beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on MSNBC. That is tonight's last word. The 11th hour with Stephanie Ruhle starts now.
Tonight, the Biden-Trump rematch now less than 2 days away. Why Trump is now trash-talking the first debate, even though he agreed to all the rules. Then, an alarming new warning about Trump's plans for the economy and what they would mean for your money. Plus, my talk with Senator Joe Manchin, why he left the Democratic Party and how he'll be voting come November as the 11th hour gets underway on this Tuesday night. Good evening once again. I'm Stephanie Ruhle, live from Aspen, Colorado at the Aspen Ideas Festival. And we are now 133 days away from the election and less than 48 hours away from the first presidential debate between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. We have been watching as Trump has been talking about this debate for months. And we think you need to know what he has been saying throughout these months. So let's start with the last few days, where he seems to have some big problems with what's going to happen in this first debate. Watch.
Number one, it was CNN fake news, right? Who hates Trump? Then it was fake Tapper, who really hates Trump. And Dana Bash. Then they said, think of this, but no audience. It's like death. There's two us and two of them. It's like death. I think fake Tapper would really help himself if we're honest, but you'll see immediately if it is or not. I'll probably be, Dana Bash is the other. I'll probably be negotiating with three people, but that's okay. I've done that before. I'll be debating three people instead of one half of a person.
Trump has said repeatedly that the debate setup proposed to him was an offer he could not accept, like complaining about not having an audience. But here's the thing that you need to know. He did accept that offer. And if you look at things Trump has said in the past, he should be feeling great about